Natmanam Bhava Manyata Bhagavad-dhyana Putena Manasanyam Tato Srujat. Yasim Shrishtim Atmanam Bhavamanyata Bhagavad-dhyana Putena Tato Shrujat Prapiyasim Shrishtim Atmanam Bhavamanyata Bhagavad-dhyana Putena Manasanyam Tato Srujat. Vishvapapiyasim Shrishtim Natmanam Bhavamanyata Bhagavad-dhyana Putena Manasanyam Tato Srujat. Ladies. Vishvapapiyasim Shrishtim Atmanam Bhavamanyata Bhagavad-dhyana Putena Manasanyam Tato Srujat. Vishvapapiyasim Shrishtim Atmanam Bhavamanyata Bhagavad-dhyana Putena Manasanyam Tato Srijat. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Seeing such a misleading creation as a sinful task, Brahma did not feel much pleasure in his activity, and therefore he purified himself by meditation on the personality of Godhead. Then he began another term of creation. Purport. Although he created the different influences of nescience, Lord Brahma was not satisfied in performing such a thankless task, because he had to do it, but he had to do it because most of the conditioned souls wanted it to be so. He had to do it because most of the conditioned souls wanted it to be so. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 15:15 that he is present in everyone's heart and is helping everyone to either remember or forget. The question may be raised why the Lord, who is all-merciful, helps one to remember and another to forget. Actually, his mercy is not exhibited in partiality towards one and enmity towards another. The living entity, as part and parcel of the Lord, is partially independent because he partially possesses all the qualities of the Lord. Anyone who has some independence may sometimes misuse it due to ignorance. When the living entity prefers to misuse his independence and glide down towards nescience, the all-merciful Lord first of all tries to protect him from the trap. But when the living entity persists in gliding down to hell, the Lord helps him to forget his real position. The Lord helps the falling living entity glide down to the lowest point just to give him the chance to see if he is happy by misusing his independence. Almost all the conditioned souls who are rotting in the material world are misusing their independence. And therefore, 5 kinds of nescience are imposed upon them. As an obedient servitor of the Lord, Brahma creates all these as a matter of necessity. But he is not happy in doing so, because a devotee of the Lord naturally does not like to see anyone falling down from his real position. Persons who do not care for the path of realization get full facilities from the Lord for executing their proclivities to the fullest extent, and Brahma helps in that procedure without fail. Om Adnyantimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we're continuing on this discussion of creation, Lord Brahma's primary and secondary creation. And in this particular chapter, we heard yesterday that the first thing that Brahma creates is ignorance, is avidya. So before the creation began, he starts off by creating darkness, avidya. Now one might think, what is the necessity to create darkness? Instead of creating knowledge, he creates darkness first. What is the reason for that? Anyone? Yeah, they want to be put in that forgetfulness, but they don't consciously think of being put in forgetfulness. Brahma creates the situation by which you can forget. So imagine, has anyone watched a movie in a theater? You can raise your hand. In your life, ever? Okay. I'm not saying last year or this year or whatever. But you watched in a theater. What if you watched the same movie out in a desert in the midday sun? Would it be the same effect? Out in the open, on a big screen? You can't. The first thing for you to be absorbed in the movie, the lights have to go out. There has to be complete darkness. There has to be complete forgetfulness of the reality. So imagine you go for a midday show in a theater. Even if you go for a midday show in the theater, as soon as you go inside, it's all dark and the screen turns on, and within no time, if you're watching Jurassic Park, you feel like the dinosaurs are out there to get you. So it's only because of the darkness. So before Brahma creates anything else, he creates the facility which builds forgetfulness. And that is ignorance. So that was the last verse. The last line, Tamash Chad, the previous verse, Tamash Chadnana Vrittayah. Tamas is Adnyana Vritti, avidya or Adnyana Vritti, ignorance. Ignorance is a prerequisite for bewilderment. If you are not in ignorance, you cannot be bewildered. So he creates this darkness first. And he's not happy to create this darkness. But because, as Mataji was saying, and Srila Prabhupada says it very clearly, Brahma was not satisfied in performing such a thankless task, but he had to do so because most of the conditioned souls wanted it to be so. So the living entity with minute independence wants to enjoy. So Brahma, although unwillingly, he facilitates that. And many years ago when I was a student at the university, we had a friend, and every weekend she would travel home, and I lived very close to where she lived, so she would give me a ride. But she was a doctor, and I would finish my last lesson and go to her clinic. And in the clinic, she would see so many different patients. And at one point, one perpetual patient came. He used to come almost every week. And he just kind of almost barged himself in front of her and said, "All right, it's not working." She said, "Well, it's not working because you have to reduce your weight." And he was in there with a McDonald's veggie burger and crisps and a big can of Coke. And she said, "It's okay, get on the weighing scale." And it read 196 kilos. So he was seriously overweight. And he was about 5 feet tall. So, he was a real consumer, So she said, "You have to reduce weight." And she said, "Start by eating more vegetables." He showed the burger. He said, "Look, vegetables." She said, "No, proper vegetables." Anyway, the conversation continued, and he said, "Well, I'm having 3 cakes for breakfast, 3 large portion of cakes for breakfast. And then for my 5 a day, I'm having crisps." So, and he went on and he said, "You give me a diet which is a cake diet. I will not give up on my cakes." So then reluctantly, after haggling for 5 minutes, she said, "Okay, I have to see so many other patients." She said, "Okay, I'll give you a cake diet." She said, "Instead of having 3 cakes, have 2 cakes. And then when he left, she said, she was not happy. She was not happy, but she gave. Similarly, Brahma is not happy making this creation. We are asking this kind of things. So he's making a factory of ignorance. And in this factory of ignorance, there are 5 products of ignorance, which was covered yesterday, so I'll not repeat. And these 5 products of ignorance are all pervading, and they affect every living entity who is in this world. And why does he do that? Because we have asked him to create this temporary playground of illusion. We asked for the swing. We asked to be enjoying inside. So he says, "Okay, reluctantly, I'll do it." So he's just an agent, but he's a devotee, as Srila Prabhupada says. And Krishna, then Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, why Krishna is allowing to have this forgetfulness and remembrance. Prabhupada quotes chapter 15, verse number 15. Anyone knows that verse? Very famous. Yes. Sarvasya chaham hridisannivishta. Mattaha, from me, smritihi, remembrance, jnanam, knowledge, apohanam, and stealing both of that. Stealing knowledge and remembrance, both. Apohanam, cha, and. I give knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. But Prabhupada says he's equal. He's not partial to anyone. Then why is he giving forgetfulness? Because Prabhupada says, because we misuse our little independence. What is that little independence? The minute free will that we have. Actually, Krishna is Paramatma in the heart. And through all the devatas, and through all the other agencies that he has under his control, he is only and only trying to bring us closer to him. That is the truth. I was in the year 2005, I was in Baltimore in America. I actually love that city. It's beautiful. I was being driven by a devotee, and we were just making our way home to his home. But it was a National Day parade, 4th of July, and there was chock-a-block, and we couldn't, we couldn't go past certain points because there was blockades, etc., a lot of traffic. And he had his sat-nav. Those days you had an external sat-nav. I think it was called Tom. So he had his Tom. And this Mr. Tom was guiding us. And as he was trying to go home, Tom said, continue so many kilometers ahead. And he said, no, but this guy doesn't know. I know you can go left from here. So he took left. He used his independence. And then he kept going left. And then Tom said, recalculating. Then Tom gave the path from that point. And we realized that junction was completely blocked. So we took a U-turn and we took a different lane. And it was just so messy, left and right. He was going left, right. He was using his independence. And what was the Tom doing? Recalculating. To take him where? Home. And when we ultimately reached a certain point, the Tom actually managed to take him home. And it said, welcome home. That's what Krishna is doing as Paramatma in the heart, like the GPS. We use our independence. Instead of following the straight path, we think, I've been a brahmachari for so many years. I might be better off with someone else. More entertainment in life I need. Only to realize you leave the ashram and, it's not, the grass is not green on either side. Yeah. Srila Prabhupada said that marriage is like Delhi ka laddu. You know what that is, Delhi ka laddu? Those who understand Hindi. This is Prabhupada quote, you can find on Vedabase. Delhi ka laddu means a laddu which was sold in Delhi, in pre-independence India. Now there is no such thing, like you can't go to Delhi and say, give me a Delhi ka laddu. They will say, well, what does it mean? But pre-independence India was very famous. These laddus were big, like this is big. And they were made from all kinds of dry nuts and lots of ghee. And it was said, anyone who goes to Delhi must try that laddu. And it was so delicious that you couldn't resist but consume the whole thing in one sitting. But imagine you eat this big laddu full of ghee and nuts and consume it in one sitting. Well, you'll be then sitting somewhere else for the rest of your day. And that's what would happen for most people. They'd be in the toilet for the rest of the day, trying to get rid of that laddu, yeah? So, Srila Prabhupada said, getting married is like Delhi ka laddu. And then he says in Hindi, he says, Jo khaya wo bhi pashtaya, jo nahi khaya wo bhi pashtaya. So that means he who has tasted it is also repenting, and who hasn't tasted it is also repenting. Oh, I wish I would have tasted it. But one who has tasted it, he is also repenting. So we feel like this, that, oh, my situation is too bad, I need to adjust here. Shastras say, Garud Puran says, that a man's and a woman's, when I say a man, I mean man and women. I mean, we got to be correct nowadays. Like the United Nations Charter of Human Rights, it starts by saying, every man is born equal. Hey, what about women? So when you say man, it means women also, humans. So like that. So any person is trying to make adjustments in their life. Shastras say it is like shifting the weight from the right shoulder to the left shoulder. It only gives you temporary relief. The weight is still there. Your body is still bearing the weight. So the real solution is to find a way to reach the goal, which is home, which is Krishna, to take the shelter of Krishna. But there's a difficulty. The difficulty is The goal may be known in one sense, but how to get there is not known. Krishna himself says in the Bhagavad Gita, he says in chapter 7, verse number 13, he says, Tribhir gunamayair bhavair. This whole world is under the influence of three modes. Ebhihi sarvam idam jagat. Sarvam idam jagat, this entire world, universe, is influenced by the three modes, and every living entity within it is also influenced. And therefore, mohitam na abhijananti. Mohitam, because they are bewildered due to the three modes. Na abhijananti. Abhijananti means, jananti means to know. Like jnana. From the word jnana came the Greek word gnosis. You have diagnosis and prognosis. Those were the two words I was hearing the most in the last 6 months. So, gno, from that gnos, came the word know in English. So, jnana, but abhijanati, na abhijanati. Krishna says, because of the influence of the three modes, na abhijanati, nobody truly knows me. Abhijanati means truly knows. They may know theoretically, but have not truly realized, because they are still under the three modes. Mam ebhya paramavyayam. I am actually paramavyayam. I am beyond the modes, but they don't know. So how do we know? We may ask, Yudhishthira Maharaj, who is Dharmaraj, he knows all the dharma inside out. When you don't know something, you approach a person who knows the topic inside out. So Yudhishthira Maharaj is saying in Mahabharata, in Vanaparva, he's giving the solution. There may be many ways of knowing. One may be you read Shastra. Try to understand Shastra with logic and argument. So he says, Tarko pratishtha, shrutayo vibhinna. Logic will not help, will not lead to the right conclusion. Some people use logic. They think they are great logicians. But they use logic to the opposite end. I had one uncle like that. He was very learned in material things, but very learned, PhD. He also learned Sanskrit. Knowing Sanskrit is just knowing another language if it is not applied for Krishna conscious purpose. Not a big thing, not a big deal at all. So he would converse with me in Sanskrit just to show that, he is so profound. And he was very profoundly knowledgeable. So he said, who is a better follower of Krishna, you or me? So he would watch telly all day and he would, eat and be merry. He wasn't, he was vegetarian and he didn't have habit of smoking or drinking and all that, but he was just not interested in anything higher than enjoyment. So he said, but I am the real follower of Krishna, you are not. Let's argue based on Bhagavad Gita. I said, he's trying to be defeated this time by me, I thought. So I said, you do the opening round. I said, okay. I said, I will take the highest verse in Bhagavad Gita, 1866. What is the verse? Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam. He said, stop. In one line I will defeat you. I said, okay. One line. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. Sarva dharman parityajya means give up all varieties of religiosity and surrender only unto me, right? So he said, just see, your Krishna is saying. He said, your Krishna? He's saying, Sarva dharman parityajya, give up all religion. I don't follow any dharma. Mam ekam sharanam vraja. So you are the ultimate surrender to me. If you don't follow any religion, I am the most irreligious, most atheistic. So using logic, you can prove the opposite of what is actually meant. Right? He used logic. Of course, we know what is the meaning. I don't want to digress there. But on the face of it, the verse is saying, Sarva dharman parityaja, give up all religion, all kinds of religion. So, tarko pratishtha. Actually, Vedanta Sutra also says, tarko pratishthanat. This spiritual science cannot be realized by dry logic. So he says, Yudhishthira Maharaj, tarko pratishtha shrutayo vibhinna. And how many scriptures are there? Hundreds, thousands. Nasau rishiryasya matam na bhinnam. And there is no rishi, no learned man who doesn't have a different opinion. Are you trying to do something on the screen? No. Oh, okay. So, depending on who you go to, there are so many rishis, sadhus in holy dhams like Vrindavan. I recently went to Vrindavan in February and I came across one devotee. He's Spanish. He's actually South American, but Spanish speaking. In South America, you have Spanish speaking and Portuguese speaking people generally. So he had joined some kind of Baba. He was ISKCON devotee, brahmachari from Spain and from South America. And he had joined some kind of Baba. And I said, why? What was the main reason? He said, I was thinking of Srimati Radharani. And at that time, this person's followers came chanting the name of Radha. And I got drawn. And now I'm just chanting the name of Radha. I said, do you know what Radharani chants? He said, no. She's always chanting the name of Krishna. So if you really want to be follower of Radharani, you will do what she does. You'll always chant the name of Krishna. So he said, no, you are trying to confuse me. He left. I said, okay. The point is, some sadhu will say, just do fast. Others will say, just follow astrology. Some will say, just wear some nice, what do you call it? Money, jewels. Some will say, just chant this mantra. Srila Prabhupada, when he met George Harrison told him that one very famous person who used to call himself the great rishi, one very big guru, George Harrison had given him a big donation to get a transcendental meditative mantra. And Srila Prabhupada asked him, what is this mantra? And George said, it's a secret mantra, you cannot reveal to others. Prabhupada said, if it is so powerful, why not reveal? Then ultimately George told him the mantra was boom, 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 boom. Just chant this. You pay $10,000 to get this boom, boom. It's like you can watch some movie and watch some cowboys fighting and you hear boom, boom, boom. What is this nonsense mantra? Prabhupada said, what is this nonsense mantra? Simply chant Hare Krishna. So, Rishaya yasya matam na bhinnam. There are so many rishis, they all give their opinion, including those who call themselves great rishis. Dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam. The real purpose of dharma is very guhya. Nihitam guhayam is very hidden. You see, knowledge is everywhere. Wisdom is with a few. Knowledge is all-pervading, but wisdom is hidden, is concealed. Then where do you find that wisdom? Mahajano yen gatah sapantha. You find wisdom by following the Mahajan, the great personalities. So then the question is, who is the Mahajan? Where do I go to find a Mahajan? So Bhagavatam answers this. 6th Canto, chapter 3, verse 20 and 21. You see, when these Yamadutas, they were stopped by the Vishnudutas when they were trying to extract Ajamil's soul out of his corporeal body, they were stopped by Vishnudutas and they got confused. We never had this encounter. Who are these other people? We thought we are the only rightful claimants for the souls. Where did these people come from? So they said, Vishnudutas said, go and check with your boss. So they went to the boss. Who's the boss? Huh? Yamraj. Yamraj is the boss of the Yamadutas. So when the Yamadutas went, they had to wait for some time because it's the most busy department in the universe. No holidays. Overworked and never paid. This is Yamadutas, Yamaraj's department. He is working hard. Yamraj said, you wait. I have to give some relief to everyone. I'll give you the truth. There, Yamaraj is telling the Yamadutas, these are the 12 Mahajans who actually know Dharma. Don't worry, you are stupid people, you don't know Dharma. Don't worry, don't feel so bad about it, that you are foolish. Because everyone generally is foolish, except for these 12. So he says, who are the 12? Who is number 1 amongst them? Swayambhu. Who is Swayambhu? Here, Swayambhu is not Swayambhu Manu. Swayambhu is Brahma. Brahma is the most intelligent and who is never bewildered. What is happening in this verse? If you go up to the verse, Brahma is bewildered. But he is a Mahajan and yet he is bewildered. So, Drishtva papi asim shrishtim, seeing this sinful creation that he had created, na atmanam bahu amanyata, na atmanam, his own self, bahu amanyata, he did not consider himself to have achieved anything big. Bahu means big or much. He did not think much of himself. Bhagavad dhyana putena, we'll come to that. So Brahma became confused. We saw in Brahma Vimohan Leela also, he became confused. So many times he's become confused. Kapila Muni says to Mother Devahuti, let me ask you a quiz question. Kapila Muni tells Devahuti, Mother Devahuti, his mother, what is the power of the Maya of the Lord? And there is one example he quotes. Does anyone know what is the example that he quotes? He quotes the example of Brahma. He says, Brahma, such a great personality. However, when he produced his daughter, Saraswati, he became so infatuated with her that he started running behind her, driven by attraction. And Saraswati, being scared, seeing her own father running behind her, she started running ahead, but to speed up, she became a female deer and she started running with speed. And what did Brahma do? He became a male deer, trying to chase her. And all the rishis, everyone were looking, oh, what is going on? All the devatas, they were looking. This is the example Kapila Muni gives to Mother Devahuti to show the power of Maya, of how Maya bewilders even Brahma. So even Brahma gets bewildered. But Brahma is also a Mahajan. So who are the 12 Mahajans? Brahma, Narada, Shambhu, Narad Muni, Shambhu. Shambhu is Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is also a Mahajan. Narad Muni is a Mahajan. Kumara, Kapilo, Manu. The 4 Kumaras are Mahajan. Kapila Muni is Mahajan. Manu, Swayambhuva Manu. Amongst all the Manus. He is also a Mahajan. Prahlado, Janako, Bhishmo. Prahlad, Janaka and Bhishma, they are Mahajans. Balir, Vaya, Sakir, Vayam. Bali is Mahajan. Vaiyasaki means the son of Vyasadev. Shukadev is Mahajan. Vayam. And we are also Mahajan. Who is saying this? Yamraj. He says the royal we, like the king's we. Not we meaning Yamduta also. Singular. So he lists all the names, then he says his name. This is Vaishnava etiquette. So, he says, I am also Mahajan. And then he says, Dvadashaite Vijanimo. Know these 12 to be Dharmam Bhāgavatam Bhatāh. They are Bhagavat Dharma Bhata. Bhata means they are servants of the Lord who understand Bhagavat Dharma. Guhyam Vishuddham Durbodham. This Bhagavat Dharma is Guhyam, secret. Durbodham, difficult to understand. Vishuddham, transcendental matter. Once one person came to Srila Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, I love chanting Hare Krishna. I love the kirtans. I definitely love the prasadam. But I don't understand your books. Prabhupada looked at him and said, because your intelligence is mundane. You don't understand this transcendental subject matter. So here, Vishuddham, transcendental. So, these 12 Mahajans, they are meant to be transcendental personalities. Transcendental personalities. And yet, they are also bewildered. Let's go through each one of them. Brahma is number 1 in the list. You saw he is bewildered here. You saw he is bewildered in Brahma Vimohan Leela by Krishna. You saw he is bewildered by seeing Saraswati. So he is a Mahajan, and although to understand the goal of life, Krishna, one has to follow the Mahajans. The Mahajan is also bewildered. Next Mahajan is Narad Muni. Do you know how he is bewildered? Anyone knows Narad Muni being bewildered? When is he bewildered? Huh?
He looks at the farmer and he tells the Lord, I am a better devotee than the farmer. So Lord says, alright, you take a pot of oil and walk and let's see how much you remember me. You keep chanting my name. While the farmer is constantly chanting when he's plowing, when he's reaping, when he's sowing, everything. After some time, Narad Muni gets so bewildered because he's afraid the oil will spill.
Yeah.
He forgets to chant anymore.
Yeah, these pastimes are there. But if we just stick to Bhagavatam, for example, this is very good. This is the time that he is bewildered. Bhagavatam says very direct. He is bewildered by seeing Krishna in Dwarka. This Krishna, I think he is God, but there's some, sometimes some defects of the father, they transmit to the son also. It's called genetic defect. So Brahma also bewildered. How this Krishna is eating with all these cowherd boys. Then Krishna has to multiply everywhere. Narad Muni is also thinking, how is this Krishna, whichever palace I am going in, he is already there with his wife. This is not possible. He gets bewildered. So then Krishna shows, I am personally there with all the wives simultaneously. So Narad Muni is also having the same bewilderment. So many examples, like Mataji said, so many other Puranas also give. That episode is from Brahmanda Purana that she is referring. So different places. But Narad Muni is bewildered. Lord Shiva, a great personality. He is an eccentric personality. Lord Shiva. Avadhut. He is also bewildered. He does not leave the sight of Parvati. He does not leave Parvati Devi alone at all. And yet, we see the episode of Mohini Murti, 8th Canto. What is the description? He sees Mohini Murti. He gets so attracted that he pushes aside Parvati in front of all the sages and he runs behind Mohini Murti. And even Parvati is bewildered. Arey, what happened to him? Does he not know this is Bhagavan himself? But he is so bewildered, so bewildered. He runs everywhere. All the three worlds, wherever she is running, he is running behind her. He tumbles, he mumbles, he fumbles, but he runs. He doesn't give up. So bewildered. So much so that he has his virya discharge, which becomes gold. Yeah? So bewildered. He cannot control. She was also Mahajan, but he is bewildered. And then you have 4 Kumaras. When they went to see the Lord, Jai Vijay stopped. They were bewildered by anger. Brahma was bewildered by lust. Shiva was bewildered by lust. You see these two, lust and anger. They are Kama Esha, Krodha Esha. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, these two are the most difficult to control. I have seen big sannyasis, brahmacharis, what to speak of petty grahasthas like me, but great sannyasis and brahmacharis and vanaprasthis getting bewildered because of anger and lust. Why? What happens when one has anger and lust? One becomes hatatripa. Hatatripa means one loses all shame. One forgets where they are. One forgets what circumstances they are in. Yeah? Many examples are there, we don't have time. But similarly here, the 4 Kumaras, they were angered, so they forgot that who they are dealing with is also the devotees of the Lord, Jai and Vijay. And they gave curse to Jai and Vijay. So even Kumaras are bewildered. Swayambhuva Manu. Manu Maharaj is bewildered. When is he bewildered? I am only giving Bhagavatam examples. We can give many examples from many places. But stick to Bhagavatam. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, if there was only one book that one should read to please Krishna, that is Bhagavatam. Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, if all the books in the world were to be burnt and only one was to survive, and if it was Bhagavatam, then the whole Krishna consciousness movement will start again. So give example from Bhagavatam. Stick to Srila Prabhupada and Bhagavatam. So example from Bhagavatam, 4 Kapila Muni. When was he bewildered? When he was attached to his mother Devahuti. If you see the conversation, he's very deeply attached. Manu, when was Swayambhuva Manu bewildered? When Devahuti got married to Kardama, Swayambhuva Muni could not resist. He got, out of attachment for his daughter, he was bewildered. Prahlad Maharaj, when was he bewildered? Was he bewildered ever? Prahlad, think of only Bhagavatam. He was bewildered when his stepbrother Uttama was killed by a yaksha. He got so angry that he decided to kill the entire race of yakshas as revenge. So angry. He became bewildered. Oh, that is Dhruva Maharaj, sorry. Prahlad Maharaj, when did he become bewildered? Sorry? When Narasimha appeared, he was not bewildered. What happened after that? Did Prahlad Maharaj go straight back to Vaikuntha planet? What happened? He was ruling for 60,000 years. ruling and enjoying. Why? Nrsimhadev says, because you still have the attachment for enjoyment. So there was attachment in him to enjoy. Janak Maharaj similarly, when Sita was given away in Swayamvar, he was feeling attached. Bhishma was bewildered by his attachment to Hastinapur. That's why he could not give up the side of Dhritarashtra. Bali Maharaj was bewildered, as you know, because he thought he was so powerful. Shukdev Goswami's also bewilderment is mentioned. That episode is not in Bhāgavatam, it is in Brahma Purana, where he meets Janak Maharaj, and Janak Maharaj, to test him, asks him to leave his possessions in the room and come and see him. And suddenly the room sets on fire. And in the room he only had his kamandalu and his kopin. And immediately Shukdev runs to the room. So this episode is there. And Yamraj is bewildered because Yamraj got cursed by Mandhata to become Vidura because he did a misjudgment. So these examples you should know already. So my point is this. To know Krishna, if you have to follow the Mahajans, but the Mahajans are themselves bewildered. So do we have any hope? That's my question. Yes or no? Do we have hope or no hope? Sorry? Hope against hope. Well, so the answer is in this verse. An answer is throughout the Bhagavatam. When it says, Mahajano yen gataha sa pantha, the meaning is not to just look at these episodes in isolation, but to look at the fact that what happens after they are bewildered? What happens after Brahma is bewildered? Bhagavad dhyana putena. Immediately he remembers the Lord. Bhagavad dhyana putena. He immediately remembers the Lord. Manasanyam tato srijat. And then he continues his service. What is his service? Creation. This is the path of the Mahajan. The teaching is this, that we will all have situations in which we suffer setbacks. Mental, physical, health, situational, different setbacks. We're trying hard to follow certain things, chant our rounds with utmost attention, follow the four regulative principles very deeply. We're trying, but we may sometimes struggle in some places. What should we do? Follow the path of the Mahajans. What is the path of the Mahajans? After recognizing the mistake, immediately Bhagavad dhyana putena, purified by remembering Krishna and recommitting. Even if you fall down, you drift away, you feel confused, or you have a setback, pick up your bead bag. Yes, I shouldn't have done this, but I did it. Pick up the bead bag and continue the service that you are committed to. This is the example, the path of the Mahajan. This is what is mentioned here. This is the gist, this is the sum and substance of this verse. Brahma created the universe, and the same universe bewildered him. The same is the situation with us. We are the cause of our own bewilderment, our attachments, our interactions with the world. And we can be the cause of our own enlightenment out of that bewilderment, if we choose to do so, by readjusting and reconnecting, by allowing that GPS to work, and at some point saying, all right, I'll now follow the path. Don't give up. And that's the path of the Mahajans. That is what Brahma's example is in this verse. Mahajano yen gata sapantha. I'll just quote a few other things because I studied them this morning. And then I'll stop in 3 minutes. So, what destination did Brahma have after, rethinking and focusing? Bhagavad Dhyana Putena, Vijayadvaja Tirtha writes in his Padaratnavali, which is his commentary. Vijayadvaja Tirtha is from Madhva Sampradaya. He writes, Anena sarva parashchitta rupa upayaha bhagavad dhyananam iti suchitam. So, I'll just translate in English and tell you. Vijayadvaja Tirtha is saying, the only upaya through this verse is understood that only upaya of all troubles, fall downs, setbacks is to recommit oneself to the path of devotional service. This is the main message of this verse. Then Radharaman Das Goswami writes in his Deepani that after this episode, Brahma created who? He created the 4 Kumaras and then Narad Muni. These 5. And he says, Tatra yathakramam sankhyadi rupataya Chaturnam sanakadinam avirbhavaha shuddha bhakti rupena tu naradasyeti dneyam. He says that knowledge, just like avidya is 5 types, ignorance is 5 types, knowledge, vidyapi, sankhya, yoga, vairagya, tapo, bhakti lakshana vritti bhedena, panchaparva. So, knowledge is also 5 types. What are those 5 types? Sankhya, yoga, vairagya, tapa and bhakti. Sankhya, yoga, vairagya, tapa, bhakti. And then he says that because of the 5 kinds of knowledge that Brahma gained by bhakti, by dhyan on the Lord, he produced these 5 beings, each representing one of these. Sankhya, yoga, tapa, vairagya and bhakti. And the 5th one which represents bhakti was Narad Muni. So this is a wonderful illumination that Radharaman Goswami gives. And then in Jeev Goswami says in his Kramasandarbha, Avidyaya nivartika vidya eveti. Anyone at any point in time undergoes a moment of ignorance. What is the solution? Avidyaya nivartika vidya eveti. The solution is to run towards vidya, towards enlightenment. Whenever one has a moment of ignorance, one should wake up. Many of you, I can see in the class, have had a nice... It's interesting because as the class is to finish, suddenly everyone wakes up. Some of you have been dozing off. Yeah, very relaxed. Especially sometimes those who sit in the back, they get a nice, back rest and very nice in the corner, they can relax. So, I heard one devotee has a alarm in which the alarm, Prabhupada's voice, "Wake up, you rascal, wake up." Have you heard that? Yeah. So, I think we should play that while the class is going on every 10 minutes in between. Next time I'll try that. So, finally, Vallabhacharya says in his Subodhani Vyakhya, once he says that also. Vallabhacharya says in his Subodhani Vyakhya that he says, Tadapi dhyanam tavad jatam. Up to what point should one fix oneself in bhakti if one has fall down, setbacks, negative thoughts, depression? Nowadays, mental health is a big issue. And of course, we should seek help, professional help. Always, we should seek professional help. But professional help alone will not help us get out of it. That professional help should be aided by devotional service. That in itself. Many professional helpers are there. They just tell you, oh, you are thinking this way, think that way. It's like shifting the load from here to here. That will not help. Chant Hare Krishna. Try to read Prabhupada's books, assimilate, reflect, and follow. That will help. But here, Vallabhacharya says, Tadapi dhyanam tavad jatam. Brahma kept on meditating on the Lord up until the point, Yavata manaha sarvada shuddham bhavet, until his mind was completely pure. Yathagre srujamaneshu purvashrushti na pravishati. So that the negativity of previous thinking will not enter into the future creation. That is why the words used are Bhagavad Dhyana Puteneti. Putena, the word Putena means completely purged or purified. His mind, Brahma's mind, was completely purged or purified of all ignorance. So in summary, this verse teaches us that even Mahajans can get bewildered. It teaches us that the Mahajans have still to be followed in example. That in all bewilderment also lies an opportunity for continued path to enlightenment. Thank you very much. No time for question. Nice breakfast prasadam is waiting for all of you. Huh? Cheese on toast. Wow. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samaved Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. Grantharaj Śrimad Bhāgavatam ki jai.
See you again. Thank you very much. It's really
Likewise. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Now is the real task to get up.
Do you want some help?
Yeah, I think so.
Sit. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare